Welcome to Tent Talk, the podcast with Nancy McCready, where we talk about life under the big tent of God's presence and the provoking process of discipleship. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tent Talk. This is Nancy McCready. We are launching out a podcast series entitled Breadcrumbs, Truths Left to Us by Those Who Went Before Us. So over the next weeks, I am going to share with you from those who I draw deep encouragement from, who have gone before me on this path of real, true discipleship. And I hope that it brings deep encouragement to you to know Him and to pursue Him and to let Him make it all real inside of you for this hour of history. So here we go. Breadcrumbs, a podcast series, Truths Left to Us by Those Who Went Before Us. I hope it encourages you today to go deeper with Him and to connect with me. Hey everybody, we are almost at the end of the Breadcrumbs series. Did you think it was maybe just going to go on forever and ever? All right, because I think this is number 8. So I think we only have 2 more, including this one. I think we have 2 more. And then I'm going to do something different for November and something really strong for December. So, but today, on this episode 8, I'm in my house right now. I'm attempting to film some things for the Producer's Way, my new online portal that will be launching hopefully in a few weeks. If I can pull all this together and get all this done. So how many of you know I'm consistently encouraging myself by the breadcrumbs, the things that people who have gone before me have left for me to encourage me, because I'm on that same path. I'm going that same way, and the things that they wrote down as they went the same way are so very powerful to me. And today I've just had the opportunity of having one of the most powerful and precious conversations with a dear friend, and it's put me in remembrance of the final entry in the devotion book called My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. You know, honestly, I began Breadcrumbs with a statement that I talked about how I kissed the page when I read the words there in the green letters, because it came at such a pivotal moment in my life where I thought literally at my own hand that everything was over, everything was done. Surely my life as I knew it would never again rise out of the ashes. And it didn't. A life that I knew did not rise out of the ashes. The new life with God rose out of the ashes once I torched everything. But these breadcrumbs to me have been literally words that set my feet on the path, kept them on the path, kept me sure-footed in days of great adversity, got me back on track when I fell off of the path. And this entry, December 31st entry in My Utmost for His Highest, is one of those. And literally, if I were to try to count how many times these words have come back to literally nourish me and to enable me to be able to trust Christ with my entire life and keep moving forward with Him. I mean, these are some of those words. So December 31st talks about security from yesterday, security for tomorrow, security for today. So talks about, the fact that it's on December 31st. It says, at the end of the year, we turn with eagerness to all that God has for the future. And yet anxiety is apt to arise from remembering the yesterdays. So how many of you know whenever you're, coming to the end of a year, which we are getting extremely close to the end of 2020, even though there may be much anticipation stepping into the new year, how many of you know there can be a lot of regret from the past year, a lot of angst, a lot of should have been, could have been, would have been. that literally tries to crush, because that's what it said, that anxiety is apt to arise from remembering the yesterdays. Our present enjoyment of God's grace is apt to be checked by the memory of yesterday's sins and blunders. But God is the God of our yesterdays, and He allows the memory of them in order to turn the past into a ministry of spiritual culture for the future. God reminds us of the past lest we get into a shallow security in the present. So this is very, very powerful, because oftentimes we'll say, oh, God would never bring up my past. God never reminds me of that. But I would want to submit to you that I can't tell you how many coaching sessions I've had with God as my coach. Let's just say, like an athletic coach, that a team plays really poorly on Friday night. They make many fumbles. They drop the ball. They never get it into the end zone. And what does the coach say is early morning practice Saturday morning? And probably before that coach gets them back out on the field, because that coach knows they're going to win again, and he's going to work with them, and he's going to train them if he's a true coach. But what he probably does is he runs film. He runs footage of what happened that night. If they're willing, if the team is willing to look and see what tripped us up, what seduced us, what got our attention, where were we distracted, and whatever else they might need to look at to be able to correct those things so that those mistakes serve their purpose, which is to teach them, and then they go on into the greatness that that coach knows that they have within them. Well, this is a part of what God does as the perfect coach of all time.
For more information on Nancy, please visit nancymccready.com or follow her on social media at NBMcCready.
God has never run footage of my failure to rub my face in it or to condemn me. But He has told me, Nancy, if you do want to make absolutely certain that this happens, maybe never, or at least a lot less, sit with me for a while and let me run some film and let me show you. You may have splattered all over the wall, way down here, but let's back up that footage and let's look and see. You started harboring bitterness, and you started complaining or murmuring or in self-indulging, feeling sorry for yourself. Whatever the case may be, He shows me where that began to happen maybe a few days prior to the meltdown or the blow-up or the mishap, whatever you want to call it. And let me tell you, that kind of wisdom coming from God in an atmosphere of total security, total love, total preparation for the future has literally saved me many, many times, and I highly recommend it. Then this entry in My Utmost for His Highest continues under the section Security for Tomorrow. It says, for the Lord will go before you. This is a gracious revelation that God will garrison where we have failed to. He will watch lest things trip us up again into like failure, as they assuredly would do if He were not our reward, if He wasn't our rear guard. God's hand reaches back to the past and makes a clearinghouse for conscience. You see, God is ever working. He is the Redeemer. He is going to redeem everything. Hell's never going to have the last word, my friends, if you let God be your Redeemer. Not the excuser, not where you get to blame, not where you get to, point fingers at other people, but when you let Him be your true Redeemer, where you allow Him to really, truly redeem all the hell, all the failure, all the trauma, all the selfish ambition, where you got full of yourself, where you were overly impressed with yourself, whichever way the pendulum swings, if you let Him be your rear guard, I'm telling you, He's going to make every inch of failure work towards your oneness with Him, and it is going to literally become food for other people to eat in their days of difficulty. But here is the one I most want to focus in on, is the security for today. It says, for ye shall not go out with haste. And this is talking about going into the new year. So I hope this breadcrumb is going to serve you well over the next weeks as we all move towards 2021. It says, as we go forth into the coming year, let it not be in the haste of impetuous, unremembering delight, nor with the flight of impulsive thoughtlessness, but let it be with the patient power of knowing that the God of Israel will go before us. Our yesterdays present irreparable things to us. It is true that we have lost opportunities which will never return. But God, oh, how I love these two words, but God can transform this destructive anxiety into a constructive thoughtfulness for the future. Oh, my friends, I am a living witness to this, and I want to encourage you again. Do not go shallow with sin. Do not be someone who just repents because you got caught. Don't just have a human sorrow. Let God work so deep within you that true repentance is granted to you, that you will forever think different. You will forever be transformed. And listen to these last statements from the December 31st entry in My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. It says, "Let the past sleep, but let it sleep on the bosom of Christ. Leave the irreparable past in His hands and step out into the irresistible future with Him." Wow. My friends, this is some of the best breadcrumbs that you will ever take hold of. So fantastic, so real, so true, that we must be those who face every failure, everything with God Himself. Let Him become the Redeemer. We're not going to be those who brush it under the rug or who let it shame us for the rest of our lives. We're not going either end of that spectrum of flesh and self. We're going in the Spirit, and we're going to let what Christ did on the cross actually pay for our sins and be forever in the resurrection, reforming of who we are, that we get up, and as we have been comforted, we shall comfort others. And people will receive from living witnesses of His goodness. They will receive food and nourishment. They will receive what they need from Him. And they will see living witnesses, living testimonies that God does exactly what He says that He will do. He restores us to Himself for His purposes. Now, I hope that this has encouraged you today. I hope that you will think about this as you approach the end of 2020 and the opening up of 2021. Because really and truly, my friends, this is not just the end of one year and stepping into another. We have stepped out of one era and we have stepped into a new era altogether. God is moving and we must be ready to move with Him. And that means, my friends, we must let the past rest upon the bosom of Jesus Christ. He is the only one who can carry the weight of our sin, our shame, our guilt. Let Him, so that you can, as it said, step into the irresistible future with Him and move with Him. All right? I hope this has encouraged you today. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
If you'd like information on how to book Nancy McCready for an event or speaking engagement, visit nancymccready.com.